Hello, everyone. My name is Mark,
Hi, my name is Gabriella.
and we are tutors at the Reading Writing Center. And today we're going to be going over professional development. So that means resumes and cover letters.
So it's just a table of contents about what we're going to be talking about, which Mark already explained. Resumes, the tips, examples of resumes, and cover letters.
Did you know that 80% of employers spend only 6 seconds looking at your resume? You can imagine that there are so many different people that they're actually going through for each job position. So with that, they find numerous ways to simply cut through the amount of people they have to read about. So that means making sure that everything looks great on a resume. And if you can do that, then those 6 seconds will be worthwhile.
Absolutely. So what do HRs look at when they're looking at your resume? So according to the information we pulled out, they look at our professional format, the perfect grammar, current company you work for, previous employments, start and end dates of previous and current positions, and your educational background. Just keep these in mind when you're making your resume. Let's go to the next slide.
So these are some of the most common mistakes that we see when students make their own resumes. First is formatting that looks inconsistent, like there's maybe a space off or maybe a line that looks a little longer than the other. Then you have grammatical errors. You have underdeveloped bullet points, which we'll go into more later. And that means the details of responsibilities or jobs that you have. And then 4 is having a generic resume for all job applications.
So what common mistakes do we see on this resume? The thing I was also noticing that the camera is, I don't know if it's the same for you, but it was blocking the titles of the slideshows. Was it doing that for you too?
It's recording my screen, and if it's recording it as it is right now, then it's not.
Okay, before it was like at the left corner. I don't know if you noticed that.
No.
Okay.
Mine are at the bottom left.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. You tell me, or should I just keep going?
Just keep going. I'll edit it so that way we just have the analysis. Don't worry.
Okay.
Why don't you just take the next one?
All right. Okay, so what common mistakes do you see? So here's an example of a resume, and we're just going to look at the overall outline of it. And it seems to be okay. For example, the profile, the educational bachelor's of science accounting, headline. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me go again. Okay. So what common mistakes do you see? We can take a look at the overall outline, and from a first glance, it looks to be okay. However, if we look at the work experience, we notice that it's missing the dates. So you want to make sure that you're always putting the dates of when you are currently working there or have worked, or if it's still your job currently. Something else that you want to pay attention to is, for example, to the multi-purpose tour guide line. It says the year 2014, April, and then it goes on to 2015. So you want to make sure that you put April in front of 2014 and also include a month for 2015, or you can simply state 2014 to 2015. So make it easy for the recruiter to look at your resume and to take a glance and not be confused by what you're presenting, because this is your first impression that you're making with them, and you want to make sure that you're doing a good job.
Okay. So in terms of correcting these mistakes, these can be using a page layout and formatting options to ensure consistency. And you can find these on Canva. You can also find them on Google Docs or even on Word document. You can use, for number 2, in the grammatical errors, you can always ask a friend or a tutor to look over your resume for you. And reading it aloud can also help. For number 3, with underdeveloped bullet points, there's actually a method called the PAR method that you can use in order to help with underdeveloped bullet points. With number 4, there are generic resumes, but even if you feel that your resume is rather generic, you have to think on the next level about who's going to be reading your resume. And that might mean changing a few things, maybe reorganizing or using different examples for different people. But that is what we're here for, and we're going to help you learn more about that in the next slide.
So there's actually this PAR method that we want to implement into our resumes. So each statement that we make on our resumes, we want to make sure that we're using a power verb. We also want to make sure that we're using action verbs or action words in general. And also we want to make sure that it's being accurate to what we have done in our job descriptions, and that it shows what type of result we can give to our future company that hires us.
These are just a few examples of action words that you can use in a resume. I like to go to, this might be a little tidbit that you'll only get from this workshop, but one of the things that I always use when making headlines, titles, or small sentences is a website called Headliner Analyzer. And this is actually what I use when making articles and titles for my essays and different things like that. If you can put your title or sentence there, it will analyze the efficiency or the effectiveness of your work. And based on how well you use words like this in your resume, it can tell you how effective it will be at impressing people. And this is basically gathered just from statistics, the kinds of words that people love and really like to share with friends. So you can know that these are time-tested words that you can use and plug into your resume.
Yeah, and also just to add on, it's important that we use these action words because they allow us to quantify the information on our resume. And we want to make sure that we are including numbers or quantifying the information on it so that they have some number weight to compare you with other candidates. For example, if they know that you've been supervising a team of 7 individuals, they're more likely to hire you instead of somebody who just says that they've managed teams, but they're not quantifying that information. They're not including a number or a percentage of something that shows how productive you've been at your workplace. So again, these are just examples of what Mark was talking about. So a couple of bullet points here that we can use as examples would be, for example, the first one, assisted with logistics, scheduling, and training for 8 teams and up to 100 people. We can tell from this statement that they worked with a team of 8 or up to 100 people. So clearly this individual knows how to deal with people and they have managerial skills. Another one, for example, would be examine the operations and financials of a local winery, resulting in cost analysis, managerial accounting. So if someone's trying to find a job in the accounting area, this looks amazing on their resume.
So with that in mind, you're going to want to look at a resume like this in order to understand a little more about how to make your resume stand out. Compared to the last resume that we looked at, you could see that this one has a lot more detail. It seems a lot more organized, and you have these lines and straight formatting. It's very nice. And then when you look at it, look at each bullet point. You can see that you have ones that have first student in BYU Hawaii to receive PCAOB. I don't even know what it is, but it sounds impressive. You know that it has a number, it has an acronym, and it has a word that means that they were involved, they did something. And this could even be similar to another bullet point below where it says participated in Global CFA Institute Research Challenge. So make sure that everything is using that PAR method. You have a power word, participate. You had an action that they took, and it was a challenge. And you have a result. And that is this, all having this as a part. And I think that the more that you work with your resume and just make different versions of them, then you'll see that with each revision, each edit, it will get better. And you'll find the ones that just perfect. And you'll be able to keep doing that every time by looking at examples like these.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just as an overall review of what we've learned today about resumes, let's answer the question, what can you do to help your resume? So here are some tips. We can format. We can make sure that our grammar and punctuation are looking great, that they're correct on our resume, and that we're using bullet points in an effective way to get our message clear, that we are the candidate that they want.
All right, so now let's move on to cover letters.
So what is a cover letter? It's a formal application letter tailored to employers' needs that spotlights your skills and elaborates on them in a more convincing way. The way I like to see a cover letter is your opportunity to let your employer know, or your potential employer know, what you have to bring to the table.
So these are some examples of how a cover letter and a resume actually work hand in hand. You see that a resume is good when you want to list your overall experiences. And it's an outline that gives you an understanding about the skills exactly that you have and what you need for this job. But a cover letter is personal. It tells you a story, usually introducing yourself to whoever you want to be employed by. And with that, it gives them more of a way to understand who you are in connection to your resume.
And with that being said, a key to writing an awesome cover letter is using the STARR story method. So you want to remember that when you're writing a cover letter, this is an opportunity to also tailor the cover letter to the job description. So make sure that when you're reading your job description, that you identify a situation that you can relate back to the employer or company's values, ethics, or job descriptions that they're trying to find in a candidate. So once you identify a situation that will make you stand out and that is relatable to the job description or the job that you're applying for, you want to make sure that you also go back to the job description and look at the task. What tasks are they looking for this candidate to apply to the job? So make sure that you identify those tasks and you include them. And also with your job description, you want to identify action words. A lot of the times, employers or those that are recruiting will put key action words in their job descriptions, and sometimes they run it through a system that identifies these action words on resumes and cover letters. So if you want your cover letter to be on top of everyone else's, make sure that you include those action words from your job description onto your cover letter. And you want to also include the result. A result of that action or of those actions that have given you good feedback with your boss or your job, and that has proven your effectiveness with your previous jobs and how you can also be effective and productive in that company too.
All right. So giving a little more detail to the STAR story example that that Gabby was giving us. Here, I'm going to do that over myself.
It's okay.
Yeah. So giving a little more detail to the STAR story method is giving this example. So you can start by giving this situation that you had an advertising revenue that was failing off from this college newspaper. Then your task, what you did, you made a goal to make new ideas and materials that would result in 15% increase in advertisers. Then you took the action to describe what you exactly did. I designed a new promotional packet to go with the rate sheet and compared the benefits of the review circulation. And then what happened as a result? What was the result? It was that we signed contracts with 15 former advertisers for daily ads and 5 for special supplements. So imagine that you could have all that in your cover letter and have that be just one paragraph. But when you come back at your resume, look and see that you have this as the bullet point, which is you increase 20% advertising revenue by designing new promotional packets and setting up training for account executives on competitive selling strategies. See how it just summarizes it all in one sentence? That's what a bullet point does. It takes a story like this and puts it in a way that's easy to read. And that's how you can elevate your resume and your cover letter.
So just going off of what Mark was saying, let's now look at the outline. When we're writing a cover letter that we identify ourselves through a job-related position, state the position we are applying for, state 3 skills and qualifications the employer is seeking. So again, go back to the job description, look at what they're seeking in skills and qualifications and implement those if they're applicable to you. Express confidence. I think this is so important. You don't want to be overconfident, but you also want to make sure that you know that you are worthy of that job in a humble but bold way. Part 2, we want to also include those STAR method stories. So choose a story that relates to the first skill. Then for Part 3, choose another story that relates to your second skill. And for Part 4, also relate the third skill. Now, last but not least, for some of your last skills or your first skills, make sure that the story relates.
Well, I think what is going on here is that it becomes rather easy for you to write such long descriptions. And what you need to remember is that sometimes it's okay to write something small. It doesn't have to be a very long paragraph in order to get the point that you made a difference. But as long as you make sure that you later on relate what you learned from it back to the employer, back to the company you want to be a part of and the job you want to do, then that will get the job done.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Mark. So now it's your turn. Take a piece of paper, take your pen, or pull up your computer and just write your own STAR story. Choose a job description that you've been looking at and be confident and just go ahead and write your STAR story and fix your resume using the tips that we've expressed throughout this workshop. And also just remember to really, I think the key thing with your resume and your cover letter is quantifying your experiences, your job experiences, being true to yourself, letting them know like what you can bring to the table, and also, letting them know that, you are qualified, but also that you are willing to learn. We're not always going to be the best at a job, and we need to recognize that. And I think a lot of employers and recruiters can see potential in you if you bring a good personality and good attitude to the table. So just make sure that you express those things in your cover letter and resume.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I mean, you just got to get out there, have fun with it. You know, there is always a feeling of perfection that you want to reach, but you have to start somewhere. And that means having fun and also being okay with the idea of laughing about your first attempts. You got to start somewhere. And if you find a tutor, find a friend, anyone who's willing to help, then you can always keep improving over time and get to that perfect resume. I mean, I have gone through 4 or 5 different versions already, and that's okay. You have to keep improving, and that's reflected in your resume. So have fun and make sure to really capture what you love in your resume.
And last but not least, thank you. Thank you for joining us for this workshop. If you have any questions, or like Mark said, if you want us to take a look at your cover letters or resume, please don't hesitate. Email us and book an appointment with the Reading Writing Center. This semester we're online and we're more than willing to help you achieve your written goals and achieve your writing goals, but also achieve your professional development goals. Why not? Let us know how we can help you. And we hope that you enjoyed this. And Mark, do you have any last words?
I mean, I gotta say, you said it all. We hope you guys enjoy this and that you can use this to make the best out of your cover letter and your resume. So good luck. All right. See you later.